Welcome to Walking with Jesus Bible Study. We're going to be in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 4. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. And I'm going to repeat that. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Patience. Oh, that is a tough one on all of us. There's a lot of people, that have good patience. Most on average people, especially with the way the world is created today, everything's fast. Everything is made to go along to our convenience stores, microwave, the internet goes pretty fast. We have everything on our cell phones. It just is immediate, right? Everything's just right at our fingertips. And so we are not accustomed to waiting and having patience. How many people lose their patience just standing in line at the grocery store or even the fast checkout? Back in the day, we would have had to wait forever. And it didn't bother us. What did we do? We just read the magazines. Or the kids just played a little game, running around in circles around their mama. But there's no more tolerance of that. Because why? We don't have to wait like that anymore. So when we do, our mood changes. And we got to be careful. Because how quick can that waiting turn into anger? We're getting caught up in our emotions, and it causes us to do and say things and be mean towards ourselves or to other people that don't need to be. It causes a ripple effect. Someone could cuss out that person, and that person who they cussed out, that cashier just probably had a bad day and just was taking it from all anybody. And then here comes this person just completely cash her out, and then she goes home and doesn't take it very well. That could have been the last straw. And I was saying that the most politest way I can, because the world has come to that. They don't take account to what the words and their actions have on people throughout the day. This world has gone careless. They only care about themselves. They don't care that certain things affect other people. They don't have the patience to care about somebody else other than themselves. But God calls and tells us that we are to love everyone as we love ourselves. So when we're in certain situations, we need to place ourselves in those people's shoes or in the era and understand it from their point of view, so we can allow the patience begin to work in us. There's many of times that people have a bad day, and God uses certain things to try to teach us things and to try to save us from certain things. If we're speeding, we have all these things go on. Maybe he has all these things go on so we can keep us from being at that place where there's going to be a wreck. But he also uses certain things to test our patience, because that is a big major lesson that we must learn to be more Christ-like. So we can be more tolerant of other people in their attitudes. So we don't get caught up in our emotions of hatred and anger. Patience is one of the very key things that we all, as children of God, who is drawn nearer and dearer and closer to God in our relationship with him, that we must learn to appreciate and to have, not only towards ourselves, but most definitely towards other people in our lives. And not just our kids or our spouse or our bosses, but everyone that we encounter. We've got to learn to make room and have some patience and some tolerance. See, we have grown too accustomed to this world and the negativity and the carelessness that is surrounding everybody, that nobody has patience or tolerance of anything and anyone. They're just not going to stand for it. Well, I never, and I shouldn't, and do you know who I am? Do you know who my Father is? We're all the same when it comes to the eyes of God. No one is above another person. We got to remember that we're all nobodies. And by that, we are nobodies because we're all equal in the eyes of God. But we are somebody to Him. That is not such a bad thing to be a nobody. Because it just means we're simply equal. That one person over there is not better than you. And you're not better than this person over here. Because we are all God's creation. He loves us all. Yes, He even loves the ones that are even not His children. He even tells us that we ourselves need to love our enemies. We got to have respect for them. See, many people think just because somebody is not a child of God, that they can treat them any which way. But that's not Christ-like, and that's not what Christ asked you to do. You can't hold yourself better to somebody just because you're a so-called a child of God. And if you do, are you truly, really a child of God? Are you really, really walking with Christ with that attitude and that arrogance and that pride? Because those all seem to belong to somebody else that you can call your daddy, and it's not Christ. For even Jesus tells the Pharisees and the Sadducees, you are just the liar, just like your father, the father of all lies, referring to Satan. Everybody likes to believe that everybody in this world is a child of God, and that is not true. It tells you so many times in this Bible that we are not all children of God. We are all God's creation, but we are not all His children. That many other people have a different father, a father that belongs to this world. But even so, we are to pray for one another. We are to love one another. We are to respect one another. We are to have patience and tolerance of one another. Because we are to love each other. The only way you can conquer evil is with love. It says, kill him with kindness. Take a step back. If things too much coming and going, like this and that, just too fast, and you're like, maybe God's trying to teach you some patience. Maybe God's trying to teach you some tolerance of certain things. Working on that character. See, when you come to walk with Christ, He's going to chip away at the old you so that you can die to yourself, die to your flesh, so that way you're no longer walking in the flesh, but you're walking in the Spirit of God. He's molding you to be the person that He always created you to be. So sometimes when you're sitting there and you're taking all this and it doesn't seem right and fair, you got to take a step back and see what God is trying to teach you so that you can overcome and grow in your characteristic. Because He tells us to be righteous, He tells us to be holy, and He tells us to be Christ-like. And we all know that is pretty much being perfect. And none of us is nowhere near perfect. So we got a lot of work to do. We're not all going to be automatically just perfect right away when we come to Christ. No, God is still going to be working in us, whether it's 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later. Because we are all far from perfect. We are all far from being Christ-like. So it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a lot of chiseling away at the old stuff, all your bad habits, all your old characteristics, the way you act, the way you used to be. Because He is building you to become the new thing that you was meant to be. How He thought of you when He formed you in your mother's womb. to be a pure and truly child of God.